When the divine speaks, it rarely shouts. It whispers through your silence. It's the moment when the world becomes still and you suddenly feel something pressing upon your heart. A voice without sound, a message without words. God does not warn to frighten you. He warns to awaken you. And when he says, "This is my second last warning," it means there is still mercy, still grace, but not forever. You have been guided before, but you ignored it. You felt that inner pull, that nudge to change, yet you waited. You said, "Tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll be better." But what if tomorrow never arrives the same way again? The divine warnings are not about fear. They are invitations to return to your truth, to stop drifting in distraction, to stop pretending you're fine when your soul is whispering for help. When God says, "This is your second last warning," he is not speaking to your ears. He is speaking to your spirit, reminding you that the time for excuses has ended. When the divine speaks, it rarely speaks through thunder. It does not come wrapped in lightning or in the noise of chaos. It speaks through silence, through stillness, through that quiet moment when everything in you slows down and you suddenly feel a pull in your heart that you cannot explain. That is how God communicates. And yet, most people never hear it because they are too busy listening to everything else. They are surrounded by distractions, by voices, by fears, by desires. They move so fast that even when heaven whispers, they are already 10 steps ahead, chasing something that does not matter. When God says, "This is my second last warning," he is not trying to scare you. He is trying to slow you down, to stop you from destroying what he built in you. There is something sacred about the silence before change. It is in that silence where you are given a chance to listen. But listening requires humility. It requires stillness. It requires you to put down the noise of the world and open your heart to the whisper that comes from beyond understanding. Many people think warnings from God come like punishments, like storms, like disasters. But no, the first warnings are soft. They come through feelings, through intuition, through small moments that make you uncomfortable, through people who cross your path and say something that feels too precise to be coincidence. Those are the divine signs that call you back. But when you ignore them, they get louder. When you keep pretending not to hear, God turns the whisper into a storm because that's the only way to get your attention. The voice that calls in silence is not there to frighten you. It's there to awaken you. It is a voice of love, not of anger. It is a call to remember what you once promised to become. Each of us carries a divine potential, a sacred design that we are meant to live out. But somewhere along the way, we drift. We chase what sparkles instead of what shines. We trade wisdom for comfort, purpose for pleasure, awareness for approval. And then, when everything starts to feel empty, we call it bad luck. But it's not luck, it's alignment. God's warnings come when you've drifted too far from your alignment. They come not to punish you, but to pull you back to where your soul belongs. Every soul that hears a warning is blessed, because it means God has not given up on you. He is still trying to reach you. He is still trying to remind you that you are not lost. You have just forgotten the way. There's a difference between being lost and being disconnected. Lost means you don't know where you are. Disconnected means you know exactly where you are, but you can't feel the connection anymore. When God speaks and you feel that strange restlessness inside, it's not confusion, it's a signal. It's heaven tugging at your soul saying, remember why you're here. The second last warning means mercy still exists. It means you still have time to listen, to change, to realign, to stop pretending that you're okay when you're not. You know that feeling when you look in the mirror and see your own eyes, but feel a distance, like the reflection doesn't match who you are anymore. That is the soul's cry for return. That is the moment when the divine voice echoes inside of you saying, you are drifting too far. Every time you ignore that moment, you make it harder to come back. Every time you silence the inner voice with noise, entertainment, or denial, you make the whisper fade. But even if the whisper fades, God will not. He will wait. He will wait until you are ready to hear again. This is the nature of divine patience. It's infinite, but not without consequence. The universe always balances what you ignore. So when you fail to listen to the call of silence, life starts to rearrange itself to force you to stop. Sometimes that means loss, sometimes confusion, sometimes pain. Pain is the language of awakening. It is the final attempt to pull you back when you've ignored everything else. And that's why God warns. He doesn't want to take away, He wants to restore. But He cannot restore what you refuse to face. The voice of God speaks in patterns. When you are too busy, He sends pauses. When you are too proud, He sends humbling. When you are too comfortable, He sends disruption. These are not punishments. These are mirrors. Divine mirrors that show you where you've gone blind. Every difficulty you face carries a message inside it. And the more you resist reading that message, the more intense the situation becomes. When God says, "This is my second last warning," it means that time is shifting. It means you are entering the final stages of choice. You can no longer drift without direction. You must either rise or remain asleep. But here is the truth. The silence that calls you is never harsh. It's gentle. It waits for you to notice it. It's like standing by a quiet river at dawn. You can hear the flow if you stand still enough. You can feel the current if you stop moving. But the moment you start running, you lose it. The divine voice works the same way. It is always there, but only the still can hear it. You are not being punished for your distractions. You are being reminded that peace requires presence. And presence requires surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to the higher plan that you cannot yet understand. The reason many people never change, even after hearing a warning, is because they confuse surrender with weakness. They think listening to divine guidance means losing control. But in truth, you were never in control. You were only in charge of awareness. The moment you surrender, you return to balance. You return to that quiet trust that says, "I may not know what happens next, but I know I am being guided." That trust is the foundation of all transformation. When you ignore the call of silence, you live through noise, and noise creates illusion. You begin to mistake movement for progress, attention for love, validation for purpose. You start to chase outcomes instead of alignment. And soon, life feels heavy. The laughter feels forced. The achievements feel empty. That emptiness is not failure. It's the voice of God echoing inside of you, waiting to be heard again. Every time you feel that quiet sadness for no reason, that is not depression, that is disconnection. That is your higher self asking you to slow down, to listen again, to remember what matters. God's second last warning is a gift. A reminder that time is precious, that your journey is sacred, and that you were not born to wander endlessly. You were born to awaken. You were born to hear, to see, to return. The greatest tragedy is not death, it's living without awareness of your divine connection. And every warning from God is a chance to prevent that tragedy. It's a doorway back to your own soul. But to walk through it, you must be honest. You must be willing to admit that you've ignored the signs, that you've been distracted, that you've built walls around your spirit. Honesty is the key that unlocks divine guidance. When you admit that you've gone silent to your soul, you begin to hear again. Many people pray for answers, but never make space for silence. They ask God to speak, but their hearts are full of noise. And so, when the answer comes, they miss it. The divine speaks not in the language of words, but in the rhythm of stillness. The silence that calls you is not empty. It's full of meaning. When you meditate, when you breathe, when you detach from the constant movement of the world, you begin to feel the pulse of that higher frequency. It doesn't come with force. It comes with gentleness. It comes like a feather landing on still water. And if your inner world is turbulent, you will not notice it. The reason God warns before he acts is because he wants transformation, not destruction. The universe is built on mercy first, justice later. Mercy is the whisper. Justice is the echo that follows if you ignore it. Right now, if you feel a deep call to change, that's mercy. If you feel uncomfortable where you are, that's mercy. If your plans are breaking apart, that's mercy. Because something higher is trying to